Before I go any further, I do want to introduce our very special guest, Saluta Liu, who is from Eight Glasses of Water. She is a health and wellness coach. She's a certified coach, works with women with facing challenges for lifestyle balance and for basically just anything that you need help with to empower you to transform. Working as a mindfulness coach, she's a meditation and yoga instructor for several years, coming with from the background of the corporate world. So she knows what it's like to try to find that balance in life when it seems so difficult and challenging, and especially when it comes to keeping our health in good form, our eating habits, our exercise habits, our sleeping habits, and all that sort of thing. So welcome, Saluda. Thank you again for joining me. Really
Thank you,
appreciate
Lisa, for having me.
it. And I should just mention that Saluta runs a six-pillar program. And that six-pillar program is part of her coaching program. One last thing is I want to be full disclosure as usual. We are not doctors here, ladies, but we are very passionate about neuroscience. We're very passionate about health and wellness. And we are sharing with you tools, and we're sharing basically tools for you to implement right away. They're very actionable tools. But sharing our knowledge, sharing the study that we have done through our own journeys, our own experiences. So, like anything, if you're wanting to implement something and it impacts your health, or if you have concerns or other conditions that you may be concerned about, always please consult your physician first. So, full disclosure on that. Okay.
Thank you for that. That's really important for people to know. Yeah.
It is super important. So before I go any further, and without further ado, I would like again to welcome my special guest and beautiful soul, Saluta Liu. Thank you again.
Thank
And
you.
I would love if you would share with us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get started with our conversation so I can stop
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you. So thanks again, Lisa, for having me here. Just a few words about myself and about what I do, and a bit about my background as well, so that people understand where I'm coming from. So, as Lisa mentioned, I am a health and wellness coach. I'm also a life coach. I am trained, I'm certified, I have all the credentials. I'm not a doctor, as Lisa said, but I am certified and I have all the credentials that allow me to empower you to transition to a better life. What I do usually is I work with women, as Lisa mentioned. Most of my clients actually are women, um, and help them kind of like transition and change, make health changes, make life changes easier and smoother. Because, as you mentioned, we're both passionate about brain, and we both know, and many people know, how difficult change is for the brain. So one of my roles is to partner with women to accompany them in this transition and make it easier and smoother for them to achieve their goals and to get to the next level of their health or of their life journey. A bit about my background. And it's I've been working for more than 20 years as a corporate executive with Fortune 500 companies. So all the stress and everything that comes with being in a very high competitive environment accompanied me and kind of like set the tone for what I'm doing now. This is probably how I got to doing what I'm doing now. About 6 years ago, I got my certification as a yoga and meditation teacher. So, besides being a certified health and life coach, I'm also a certified yoga and meditation teacher, and I've been teaching many classes so far. Um, Also, I think this is actually how my process towards being a health coach started, because that's how I discovered how important it is for people to manage their mind and to manage their habits and to place the proper focus towards health. Because until a few years ago, for me, my only focus was my work and of course my family, and just kind of like living by. Once I've started, teaching, and once I've started to master my brain and to to go deeper into meditation, I kind of noticed how big of a difference it makes on my life. And this is how I started studying more and more and more. And I studied food, I studied meditation, I started yoga, deepening my practices, and I also started uh, studying the skill of coaching in itself, because it's a skill in itself, like any other trade here. You need to kind of like first study and then master your skills. I'm also a mother. I have a daughter who is a teenager now, and pretty happy to accompany her during this transition in her life. I'm a wife. I have a pet, two pets actually. I have a cat and a dog. I think you saw my cat in the
Yes,
little
I
ad that I
thank
created,
you for that.
and I have a dog which is as sweet as the cat. So, in a nutshell, and in terms of the services that I provide, for the health coaching part, I run a program, as you mentioned before, which covers kind of like a holistic aspect of life, because I think both of us know, and many of your followers and members of your group know, health is not only about what you eat or about the supplements that you take or about the exercising that you're doing. It's a holistic approach to life. If you want to be healthy and feel and look amazing, and if you want to be successful at what you're doing, because one of the things that I probably didn't mention prior to that is that I work with people who want to be successful. And this is, for me, is really important, because it takes a certain mindset to be able to be successful. I run a program for women in which I help them transition in whatever challenges they have in their health, whether they are looking to lose weight, which is a big thing, unfortunately, in our society, or they have a chronic condition that they need to have support and guidance. And because sometimes the support and guidance are the most important things, because you have the doctor to take care of everything, but you need to have a support system in place. So I work with people who have chronic conditions that they need this guidance and support throughout their journey to healing. And I work with people who want to improve their health and improve their lifestyle habits, even if they don't have any particular health concern, but they want to improve their energy, they want to increase their energy, they want to improve their productivity. Because unfortunately, in a society in which most uh, uh, of the ads that we see everywhere are about foods that are not healthy at all, and most of them are not healthy, it is very easy to slip into eating unhealthy foods. And as foods are charged chemically, they affect the chemistry of our body, and they affect the way we show up in the world and the productivity that we have. It affects the way we sleep, the way we wake up, the way we run our day, the way we go about doing our businesses and managing everything in our lives. So I work with people who want to transition. This is on the health coaching part. On the life coaching part, I work with people who feel like they're stuck, or feel like they have a certain meaning, or they have a certain purpose that they came in this world for, but they're trying to identify it, or they're trying to find a way to achieving it. And my role is, again, to partner with the person that is in need of a transition, and to provide not only support, but to provide the right questions and a process of inquiry, and to reflect back the patterns and the thoughts and the words that come out, so that the person that I'm working with has insights and sees into his or her own patterns, and sees into her own thoughts, and has a better understanding and of the way her brain works,
Yeah,
and
and
also has.
this is exactly.
Sorry.
I was just going to say this is so exciting because our time is ticking, and get into the juiciness of this and about the whole topic, and that is about the emotional behaviors or the emotional attachment that we have with our food and with our eating habits. Relationship with our food, relationship with our bodies. And I think for some people, when you name or when you hear the word food, or when we talk about food or even think about food, there's a certain level of anxiety almost that comes with it. Would you agree, Steluta?
I would definitely agree. I notice that many of the women that I work with are thinking a lot about the food that they're eating, about the food that they're gonna eat. So they spend a lot of time and a lot of energy thinking about the food because food, as you said, and I love the word that you use, attachment. Food is such a soother. Food is something that we attached ourselves and we attached a lot of emotions and a lot of our experiences to since very early in our life. And unfortunately, what happens throughout the years is that if you're getting attached to the habit of eating unhealthy foods, then this will follow you throughout your life. And when you're young and when you're kind of like your metabolism is really helping you, and it doesn't matter what you're putting into your body, you kind of like get through with it and you don't see it. But once you get more mature and once your metabolism starts slowing down, all the foods and all the unhealthy habits that you kind of like pile up through your life start showing off, and
Every
we start
decade.
seeing the weight gain. Yeah, and we start seeing the weight gain, and then we start seeing the loss in energy, and then we start seeing like puffiness under our eyes, and we start seeing like more wrinkles than it should be, we should be having for a certain period in our
Mhm.
life. And so there are many things that unfortunately um, this kind of soothing ourselves brings
Mhm.
about in a negative way. So it's a instant release for the moment, for the pain or whatever thing we're feeling at the time, and we're actually not feeling, we're hiding away and avoid feeling. And unfortunately, it shows up in so many other aspects of our life. So I think this is
That
a really important aspect for people to be aware of and to
I was just
discuss.
gonna say, how do people know? Like, I mean, that's the biggest thing is like the aspect of self-awareness. Like, how do we know that this is an emotional eating habit, or whether we're actually physiologically or physically hungry compared to, or vice, being hungry in just an emotional way. Like, so the emotional hunger versus a physical hunger. How do we know that that's actually what we're feeling? Is there an easy way to determine that, or is it learned through a pattern of like repetitiveness, where you'd be like you mentioned a quick fix? So if we eat something, like I called it earlier this month, was comfort food after injuring my shoulder, which is still hanging down a little bit. But it was instant for me that I wanted a feeling that I wanted to feel, to make myself feel better, because we can feel sorry for ourselves, or we can, something will happen, or we'll get some news, or an old memory will come up, or something like that, and then we attach that to, say, the food maybe that our moms gave us, or we didn't. I don't know, but we go for that comfort, which is ultimately food, which is ultimately not serving us. And how do we get so that we can say, wait a second, I'm aware of you, I know what's happening, and how do we shift that mindset to to stop us from doing it?
Well, that's a really good question, and it's very easy. Like everything that we're doing, you need to do to have awareness. So the first step is to have awareness. So it's not kind of like, I will catch myself every time I am eating something that I'm not supposed to eat. But it's very easy to make the difference between when you're eating emotionally or you're eating because you're hungry. Because hunger, it's something that you cannot ignore. It's a strong feeling that you have in your body. And a way to identify whether it's one or the other is just to ask yourself the question, am I hungry? And just listen to your body. And
Mm,
hunger, you feel it heavily when you're hungry, right?
yeah.
Uh, but when you're reaching up for the, I don't know, pint of ice cream, or when you've already had dinner and you know that you're full because you ate like you normally do, and or when you're coming from work, because you mentioned some of the the triggers that might uh, uh, kind of like push us to go for emotional eating, but there are many other unconscious triggers that we're not even aware of, like
Mhm.
going through a bad day or having, I don't know, a fight with somebody or having a rough day at a service provider or anything, and you don't even realize that this is triggering you to go and eat something. So there's no uh, there's no way you can confuse when you're eating because of hunger and when you're eating just to suit yourself. So it's very
Okay.
easy. When you're hungry, you can feel it in your stomach. It's really,
Right.
and if you're not used to feeling your body and to feeling your hunger, it's very easy to get into the habit of doing that just by asking yourself the question when you want to eat something, am I hungry? And
So that
honestly, listen to the answer.
and
Honestly.
that leads me to say we have to feel to heal. You know, we really have to feel what's going on in our body and listen to what our body's doing. And in order to do that, I think that we all have to just sort of get still and really get quiet about it before, like to take a pause and think about what's the next thing you're going to put in your mouth. And not necessarily even know why. Like, let's say you're unconsciously eating, or you're like, there's an unconscious reason there, like the layers below why we do what we do in a lot of things. So I think that we're using the example everyone about food, but this can be related to any type of substance or any type of sabotage, whether it's a relationships, like obviously we're talking about the relationship with our bodies and the relationship with food, but it could be relationships with people, it could be relationships with jobs, like whatever it is that you're dealing with that you seem to sabotage. There's something there. If there's a pattern and it's not working in your favor or serving you, there's a pattern. And if you stop to listen and you stop to feel what's going on, lots of times we can heal and we can break away and change from it. But I think that's the biggest lesson, is to be able to learn to do that. And emotions, when they come up, it's like we either just go on autopilot, or we think about what we're going to do and we consciously make a different decision or choose to do something different. So in order to activate comfort, security, safety, like, because those are all the things that we do to make ourselves feel better. We need to do something to activate safety, security, to make ourselves feel better in terms of comfort food, or whether, like we take that bowl of ice cream or the bag of chips, or just if it's mashed potatoes or spaghetti or whatever it is that you love, or those 3 glasses of wine to make yourself feel better. That's the thing that I'm talking about. Okay, I feel better now, but you know that it's only going to last a very short time. So, Salida, what do you recommend, like, to your clients when they know now? So there's the awareness piece and making the decision around that. So once you get to the point where you know that, okay, this is happening, I need to make a different decision. And what do you do for your clients, or what do you advise to replace that habit, to replace that behavior?
Sure. Um, this is knowing how the brain works. The best way to do or to go about changing a habit or replacing a habit is to, so the best way to change a bad habit is to replace it with another habit. So that's a kind of like the easy way out of a bad habit. So I don't know, if you're used to, and transition. So if you're used to eating a bag of chips while watching Netflix in the evening, so instead of eating a bag of chips, buy or bake kale chips. So you will be slowly transitioning out of eating unconsciously. You'll start being aware and will be start being conscious. Um, Another way, and this is a tool that I give to my clients, is to break your goal into smaller goals. Because if you will want to change everything about your diet or everything about your food, you won't be able to do that, because the brain will get into a panic mode your amygdala will be triggered and you will not be able to do that. So you will have just a burst of energy at the beginning and say, starting tomorrow, I'm going to throw out all the crap and I'm going to just drink green juice and I'm going to be
Famous
clean.
last
Where
word.
Yeah, it works for certain people. I mean, there are people who have something clicks in their brain and they manage to do that. But the easiest way is to transition and to surround yourself, to transition out of this, out of a certain habit, and take and replace foods that are damaging you with foods that are supporting you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, or diminish the quantity of the foods that you're eating and are not supporting you. So, look, instead of eating like the huge cake, just set an intention to eat half of it. Enjoy the half of the cake, but leave on the table for the next day the other half. Reduce the quantity because there's no easy way going about changing habits. Yeah, you need to learn what is best for you, what works best for you. For some people, they're go-getters. They decide one day they're gonna clean their pantry and they buy only clean stuff and they start the next day and they start eating like that. It might last or it might not last. The likelihood of a new habit to stick with you is much higher when you surround yourself with support people, with people who have the same desires, the same goals, the same visions about life as you have. You know, go to a community, go to a support group in which people, are living a healthier life. They're already there. They went through what you're going through, and it's easy for them to relate and to offer a hand to you. This is what I also do as a coach. I act as an accountability partner for people who
Mm-hmm.
want to transition because there are studies who show that the likelihood of somebody achieving a goal is 75 to 90 times percent higher when they have an accountability partner by their
Yeah.
side. Start replacing, start cutting out slices of the cake, reduce the number of scoops of on the ice cream, cut from 3 glasses of wine to 1 glass of wine in the beginning. Glasses, just transition out slowly so that the brain doesn't consider it an activity or
So,
a threat that it needs to consume a lot of energy with.
okay, interesting. So you're saying that we should be taking it as a gradual, like some people can go cold turkey, or they can, just say, okay, tomorrow I'm doing this, and they empty their pantry, or they pour the wine down the drain and say, no more, I'm not going to do that. But that's, again, I think that's more for willpower. Like if you've got that strong willpower that can last, but I personally don't think that works for most people because you said
Yeah,
it's the brain
agree.
that is going into like this traumatized shock now. It's like, what do you mean you're doing that? And then oftentimes we can turn to something different. Like I found that like when I'm trying to cut one thing out, then I end up replacing it sometimes with something else that's maybe not that healthy either, because usually it's a craving for sugar. If there's sugar is a big one for a lot of people, and I think that's the
Yep.
thing. That we have to really look at. It's like, well, okay, we're not just replacing alcohol. We're not replacing chocolate chips or like chocolate and cake and all ice cream and all that. It's actually the substance that's the addictive part in there that we need to be able to cut out. And that is one thing, to be able to be aware of that and be very knowledgeable about what sugar does to us. And it's that hit of dopamine that makes us feel really, really good. And then in turn, at the end, makes us feel really bad, like guilty and feeling shame and blame, and then getting on the scales and thinking, okay, well, I didn't do so well yesterday, so I'm gonna try again today. But at what point? I mean, sometimes that can go on for so long for people that they just give up. And I think at that point, it's got to be something deeper. And I think to try and to deal with that level of deeper emotion that maybe it's
Yeah.
attached to, whether it's a past, well, most times it is past
Mm.
event that's happened in our lives that's that maybe created or started the issue in the first place, or the relationship that we have or don't have, the unhealthy relationship with food. And I think it also is the relationship that we have with our own bodies, the self-love piece that comes with, really truly loving ourselves and loving our body because of that, maybe that event that took place. So what do you do with people who are like, well, I've tried all that and it doesn't work? What do you recommend? Could you talk to me a little bit about some powerful tools that you use?